Good afternoon, listeners. We're continuing with the subject of literature that we have been talking about during this week. We're going to talk about its great impact on society and contribution to history. I've met two students from Universidad Distrital who are Paula and Daniela and will be with us for our discussion. For today, we were going to talk about Edgar Allan Poe, and the discussion will be carried out by Paula and Daniela. So, Daniela, let's get started. I understand that you have come to carry out this investigation with a book. Tell us about it, please.
Good afternoon to everyone. I would like to start by emphasizing that today we will discuss English literature in its maximum expression, bringing more information about the great author that is called Edgar Allan Poe. I would like to tell you that he was an American writer who innovated literature by writing about terror and science fiction.
Well, before we start on the subject, I would like to tell the listeners that for this discussion and comparison, I took the courage to investigate other texts written by Edgar Allan Poe. So, he had a very tragic life. He was abandoned by his father and then his mother died. He was taken by another family, but they never really adopted him. And then years later of that, they also abandoned him, and plus they left him with no money.
Such a tragic life. I think I read that when he married his wife, she also died. So Virginia was a very young woman when tuberculosis took her away from the love of her life. I think we can really say that literature was a way in which he could express his grief and pain for all the tragedies of his life.
Yes, it was. We can see, for example, in the Black Cat Tale, how he paints death.
It's a great example. Such a pain that some people don't know this amazing story. Fortunately, we are going to play it here, so we can discuss it and find more than a perspective of it.
Thank you so much. I think that it's a good idea. I will be playing for you today a dramatization of the Black Cat's Tale. Let us know, what do you think about it?
May we know your last petition? Anything to it? Anything to say?
I'll die. And today I want to tell the world what happened and thus perhaps free my soul from the horrible weight which lies upon it. Listen, and you shall hear how I have been destroyed. When I was a child, I had a natural goodness of soul which led me to love animals, all kinds of animals, but especially those animals we call pets, animals which have to learn how to live with men and share with their homes with them. There is something in the love of these animals which speaks directly to the heart of the man who has learned from experience how uncertain and changeable is the love of the older man. I was quite young when I married. You will understand the joy I felt to find that my wife shared with me my love for animals. Quickly she got for us several pets of the most likable kind. We had birds, some goldfish, a fine dog, and a cat. The cat was a beautiful animal of unusually large size and entirely black. I named the cat Pluto, and it was the pet I liked best. I alone fed it, and it followed me all around the house. It was even with difficulty that I stopped it from following me through the streets. Our friendship lasted for several years, during which my own character became greatly changed. I began to drink too much wine and other strong drinks. As the days passed, I became less loving in my manner. I became quick to anger. I forgot how to smile and laugh. My wife, yes, and my pets too, all except the cat, were made to feel the change in my character. One night I came home quite late and I saw that Pluto, the cat, was trying to stay out of my way to oppose me. This action by an animal which I had thought still loved me made me angry beyond reason. My soul seemed to fly from my body. I took a small knife out of my coat and opened it. Then I took the poor animal by the neck, and with one quick movement I cut out one of its fear-filled eyes. Slowly the cat got well. The hole where its eye had been was not a pretty thing to look at, it is true, but the cat no longer appeared to suffer any pain. As might be expected, it ran from me in fear whenever I came near. Why should it not run? Yet this did not fail to injure me. I felt growing inside myself. One day, in cold blood, I tied a strong rope around the cat's neck and taking down into the cellar under the house. I hung it from one of the wood beams above my head. I hung it there until it was dead. I hung it there with the tears in my eyes. That same night, as I lay sleeping, I heard through my open window the cries of our neighbors. I jumped from my bed and found that the entire house was filled with fire. It was only with great difficulty that my wife and I escaped it. And when we were out of the house, all we could do was stand and watch it burn on the ground. I thought of the cat as I watched it burn, the cat whose dead body and had left hanging in the cellar. It seemed almost as the cat had in some mysterious way caused the house to burn so that it could make me pay for my evil act, so that it could take revenge upon me. I could not drive the top of the cat.
I'm sorry,
out
Jan.
of my
I
mind.
need to take this jackass out of here. It's his time.
No, please, hear me out.
Not a chance. A person like you shouldn't be given a right on earth.
No, don't.
Okay, would someone explain to me how this ends? The cat deaths shouldn't be forgotten.
Okay, so one night he sat in the inn, drinking as usual. In the corner, he says he saw a dark object that he had not seen before. He went over to see what it could be, and it was a cat almost exactly like Pluto. He touched it with his hand and pet him, and suddenly he realized that he wanted that cat. But the innkeeper told him that he had never seen that cat before. So as he left the inn, the cat followed him, and he allowed him to do so. So it soon became a pet of both his wife and himself. And days after he brought it home, however, he says that he discovered that that new cat, what like Pluto, had only one eye. That fact only made his wife love the cat more, but he found a feeling of dislike growing in him. His growing dislike of the animal only seemed to increase its love for him, so one night he dreamed of it, and he began to hate that cat. So one day his wife called him from the cellar to the old building where they were forced to live because of the fire. As he went down the stairs, the cat followed him as always and ran under his feet and nearly threw him down. In sudden danger, he took a knife and struck wildly at the cat. Quickly, his wife put her hand and stopped his arm. That only made that man even crazier, and without thinking, he put his knife point deep into her heart. So she fell to the floor and died without a sound. He spent a few moments looking for the cat, but it was gone, and he must do something with the body, and quickly. The walls were not very strongly built, and he found a hole just big enough to hold the body. He put the body in and carefully put the stones back in their place. He knew that it was a good place to hide it, and the days passed and there was not a sign of the cat. We were notified about the missing wife by some neighbors that didn't see her around as usual. We went there to ask about her, and he gave a vague response. Until a day we were unexpectedly called, and we went there, but we couldn't find nothing. Only that he was it, and whenever we moved, he was there. He was very calm when we took a look at his cellar, and we didn't find anything suspicious. As we were walking away, we noticed that he wanted to tell us something. He had like a mocking look. The walls of this building, he said, are very strongly built. It's a fine old house. We felt like he was mocking us with a kind of a victorious look. When we were leaving the place, we heard a horrible cry, and for one short moment we stood looking at each other. Then, quickly, we began to pick at the stones, and in a short time we saw before us the body of his wife. Black, dried blood, and smelling of decay. On the body's head, its one eye filled with fire, its wide open mouth, the color blood, sat the cat.
It was terrible to hear.
I know, but we must recognize that Paul was a genius. However, I think it was a great adaptation of the story.
We have our first call. Mary thinks that